Friday, and thanks for tuning in to RadioFreeRhinecliff.org and this show in particular. Correct me if I'm Norm. I'm your host, Norm, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight with Father Jeffrey Maurer. Jeff, how you doing?
Quite well.
Thank you so much for being here.
No problem. You're my neighbor, so...
Yeah, I know. I love that. I was just thinking about the first time I met you. I saw you wandering around the neighborhood, smoking a heater.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you wandered by my front porch one night.
That's right. Steve was there.
Yeah, Steve, my favorite Catholic friend.
Oh, good.
And I was like, hey, Father, come on up. And you did, and we talked. And it was just lovely. And I was like, I want to get this guy in the show. So thanks for being here. Now, I looked into you a little bit online. You're from Kingston.
I am. Actually, Maurers tend not to move very much. Our family started in Kingston. The Maurer side started, I think, in the 1880s. We were fleeing the Kulturkampf from Prussia and landed, like a lot of German-American Catholics did, in Kingston at St. Peter's Parish, which is now closed. And then the Irish half probably came over, we believe, during the famine because, unlike a lot of Irish folks I know, we don't know where we're from.
Oh, wow.
So...
and did nobody ever, like, sort of dig deep into that?
No. Not that interesting.
You're not that...
You may have to fill a whole hour with a non-interesting person.
That's good. But, German and Irish, that's a pretty typical American mud. A typical mix.
Yeah, we, my grandparents, my parents, and I were, and then later my sisters, we had our foundational sacraments all in the same church. So, like, my grandparents were married at St. Mary's in Kingston. My parents were married at St. Mary's in Kingston. I said my first mass there. One of my sisters was married there. So,
wow. And what does that mean, a foundational sacrament?
Well, like, baptism, marriage, ordination, things that kind of set the stage for your life as a Catholic Christian.
Okay. And you were raised Catholic Christian?
Yep.
And just
went to my only non-Catholic classroom was the Fair Street Nursery School uptown in Kingston. It was, I think, Dutch Reform, but I was only 4. And
right.
Then I started at Kingston Catholic in kindergarten, and then finished at St. Joseph's Seminary at 26. So basically 20 years, if you want to count. Manhattan College is a Catholic college, but
it isn't, or it is.
It's a broad spectrum of everything, like a lot of the colleges became.
And what did you study at college?
So I studied philosophy. They told us what we had to study.
Oh, who told you?
The seminary.
Oh, but you weren't in seminary yet. You were in college?
Yep.
Oh.
So maybe we can go. So I grew up in Kingston. My mom and dad, Jay and Carol Lee, they have a home in Port Ewan, but we always went to St. Mary's because that was our parish. And then I have 3 younger sisters. We went to Kingston Catholic School, which I loved. I had a great experience there. It was a school of about 220 kids at the time, 230. And we were kind of an IBM school in the sense that when it closed or did a lot of drawbacks, my class went from like 26 to 15.
Right.
Going from 6th grade to 7th. And then, graduated there in 8th grade, went to Coleman Catholic High School at the time.
Right.
And then it was at Coleman actually that I began to really consider that God was calling me to the priesthood. One of the things that happens when you sense a vocation to the priesthood is that it's not generally what you want.
Okay, what do you think you wanted before you...
just the normal stuff. I wanted to make a lot of money, get married, have a family, all the regular stuff that I think a lot of kids, especially kids growing up like in the 80s, wanted. And then I remember once I started taking my faith more seriously, I just dedicated more time to prayer. I was an altar boy, I went to Catholic school, but that was important, but it wasn't everything. I think we sometimes make a mistake when we think, well, I put my kids in X, and that should do it.
Right.
As if just the outside conditioning will do it. But Yeah, I think it was just something that the more and more I took my faith seriously, the more and more I spent with the scriptures and became more convicted about the presence of Christ in the Eucharist and the church. Like, it was just easier to pray.
Right. What does that mean, the Eucharist?
So as Catholics, we believe that the bread and wine that at Mass, consecrated by the priest, become, as Christ says in the Gospel, his true presence, not just a symbol, or like a flag is a symbol of the country, but his true presence. And I kind of said, whoa, if this is real, like this has got to change everything.
Right. Well, and this is fascinating to me, that jump where you start to accept the Eucharist as the true presence of Christ. How did that happen? Was it just happen overnight, or?
I know I had it in school. Like, I was prepared for First Communion and everything. So, like, I know I got it, but I didn't.
Right.
Like, much earlier. I actually found a pamphlet in the church, and it was like, I guess I would say now, like, I'd see it and say, oh, blackos. But it was like it was a really high octane intensity thing about, like, reverence. But it was a little bit of a both polemical and a bit of a screed.
Okay.
But it was enough to say, listen, God can work through polemical screeds.
Sure.
And it just was like, whoa, if this is actually real, because it was true teaching. And I was just like, whoa, I've been doing this, at least not if wrong, incompletely, or without like an understanding of what this is. And that's when serving went from like, oh, I got to do it because I'm on the schedule, to like, oh, I get to.
Right. What a wonderful moment.
Yeah, it's foundational.
So when you say you weren't doing it completely, it's
I was going to Mass, but I didn't really believe. I mean, I guess I know I said I did believe, but like a lot of times when you're in the Catholic life, and you see this with adult converts or even people who teach in those types of programs, they'll say, whoa, I know I had this when I was a kid, but I had no idea the depth of what we have.
You sort of believed the dogma when you were a kid, and then you just...
If I even knew it, because that pamphlet showed me that I didn't.
And did you keep the pamphlet? Did you
No, I didn't. I don't know where it is now.
But too bad.
So now I'm a little bit more judicious about just throwing out random pamphlets at church.
Now I'm a pack rat.
No, not that bad.
Yeah. That's funny. So did you share this with your pastor or your parents or your siblings?
No, it was just kind of private. I think, for many people, like, prayer life is private for many of us.
Right.
And while now in retrospect, like, yes, prayer is private, but prayer is personal, but it doesn't necessarily have to be private.
Right. I was going to say, you're a public figure.
Well, now I am.
And public figure.
Ninth grade Jeff Maurer was not so...
Ninth grade Jeff Maurer, not so much.
Yeah.
Were you playing sports at that point?
Yeah, I was playing soccer in Coleman, and I played tennis. And,
I love tennis.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yes.
Maybe we should start like a Portly League.
Every Sunday morning here in Rhinebeck on the town courts, I think you're probably busy on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe don't reserve a court for me yet.
But there's a thing, it's called Fat Old Man Doubles.
Oh,
and a bunch of guys my age and my weight go out, and we just sort of like hit the ball around. Everybody can get it back. Nobody's great, nobody's terrible.
Yeah.
But so I don't think your tiny belly is going to get in the way.
Oh, well, black is the trimming color.
I'm wearing black right now. So back to ninth grade. How did your behavior change once you started really seeing the Eucharist differently?
I think I just, I don't think I was wild or anything like that, but I think I was, it was one of these things where I said, not just behavior, but how I live has to be different. And not in a pushy way, I wasn't running out with the same pamphlet to everybody else. But I think people would say, they would notice, maybe not a difference, because I was in a sense well behaved, but like, like just my attentiveness at Mass, like my own personal kind of prayer time. That was really what happens first,
right,
for most people, I think.
And you said you didn't share it with, the pastor, your parents, or stuff, but did people notice?
I guess what I would say is when I told people, it didn't shock them, but I wasn't like, there's this thing now where everybody shares everything.
Right.
And probably I was the opposite. I mean, I am German and Irish.
Yeah.
By temperament, generally.
Which I take to mean that you hold your emotional cards close to your chest.
Yeah. I think I've grown in that. Part of it is just public life. Part of it is just recognizing that, there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
And I grew up in a very normal and loving family, so it wasn't like, we were like locked in basements and told not to say anything, or.
That's right.
But
the Irish part kept you up in the kitchen.
I think too. Let's be honest. Like that's not something that most kids want to start sharing in high school anyway.
Right.
I might be a priest. Like even at a Catholic high school. I mean, Coleman was Catholic, but it was I don't want to say nominally so because I developed my faith there, but it wasn't like I think if 20% of the kids at school were going to mass.
Right.
On Sunday with their family, that was a big number.
Right.
So it was, it was a private school.
Right. And 20% were sort of observant Christian Catholics.
Yeah. And then everybody else was just regular. It wasn't like this theocratic military academy.
Right.
Hardly.
Yeah. I knew kids who went there like maybe 20 years ago or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And they loved it. It was a good school. Do you do any work with them now?
Well, they're closed.
No.
Yeah, so no. But I had at certain points, there's a lot of my same teachers.
Right.
Were still there. I would offer mass there like once every couple months. Because there would be also the local priests who would cycle through to do the masses and stuff. But no, I loved it. I loved Coleman. Class of '97. Several of my classmates are parishioners here.
Nice.
So that's kind of neat.
That must be a blast.
And we were a wild class. We were just kind of sophomoric. We were practical jokers. I ran a satirical newspaper we kind of put together before like computers and
oh boy,
called the Proletariat.
The Proletariat.
Yeah, and my one foray into Marxism. But we were just a fun class, and we had a great time. We partied hard, and whatever. But it was a good class. I love them still.
What does that mean? Party hard?
We were a fun class.
Right.
So we were just a tight group, and we would occasionally do dumb things.
Right. And at what point in that period did you first share with anybody that you were considering a life of the cloth? Or?
Probably close to senior year.
Right.
It wasn't like a full-on decision by any stretch.
Yeah.
Early on, but by junior year, everybody tells you, you have to start to figure out your life. And I was really blessed in the way that January '96 was an abominable winter. And like we had like every other day off. And back when snow days were snow days. And I just had a lot of time to pray and to think and to say, all right, you know what, if this is what you want, Lord, and if this is what I'm called to, this is what I'm going to be happy doing and being.
Right.
And so you want it, you got it.
Wow, amazing. And are you happy doing it after all these years?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like any life, like marriage, or fatherhood or motherhood, you have your bumps and you have your trials, or you have your frustrations, or just the good old boredom.
Right.
Of like, the lean years. But yeah, I couldn't imagine wanting to do anything else.
That's amazing. That's so good. And how would you define faith?
Trusting the one who loves you most.
I love that definition. I want to mull that over. Trusting the one who loves you most. And for you, that's the Holy Trinity? Or?
Yeah, our Lord, who creates us, who knows us, who loves us, who redeems us, who forgives us, who guides us, who who ultimately, and kind of putting all of that together would be, the word gets overused sometimes in evangelical circles or even Catholics, but saves us. Like, if we're not broken, we don't need saving.
Right.
Or if we're not fallen, we don't need redemption. If we're not, so I think when we lose that sense of who we are, we become entitled to salvation. Like just like we are to X, Y, and Z. I'm entitled to 2 weeks vacation. You can see that sometimes in folks, either an entitlement mentality or a despair when faith isn't kind of calibrated well.
Right. That's such an interesting expression. When faith isn't calibrated well, what does that look like? Do you see that in your parishioners now?
One of the things about priests we can tell you is that a lot of parishioners are much better than us.
Which must be great.
Well, yes.
Must be kind of
either
relief.
It's a reflection of us or them, but it's, as a priest, yes, there are people focus on, different sacrifices that you can make or attempt to, or try to do what God would desire of us. But, then you see people who are, heroic in their marriages or in caring for their parents or struggling with children that are, have their own challenges. And you say, wow, I have my own and I have to do my work, but wow, I have a lot of support in that. I had 8 years of formation and, but, I think I do see it calibrated, like anywhere in any general population. You see poor calibration and terrific calibration, of integrating the faith into someone's life in a way that is both convicts them, converts them, and also allows them to do the same.
It seems like sort of the central thought of Christianity is serving others.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things I've said to people sometimes, because I always joke, mine's the one house in Rhinebeck that doesn't have 6 lawn signs, is, especially after this week.
Oh, my goodness.
Is that everything has a role. Politics has a role. But what I've often found is that real spirituality, real faith is not me trying to change the world, but me allowing God to change myself.
Okay.
In a sense, and that should have an outward manifestation, but when our eye is always on something else, we take it off us.
Right.
And that can be very dangerous.
Right. And you say allowing God to change you, and I think about sort of how you would pass it on, but I wanted to ask, is the Christian, when you say God, do you mean a particular God, like the Christian God, not a Buddhist God or a Hindu God? Or...
we're all we use the vocabulary of our background, but I would say like the God revealed in the Hebrew scriptures and the Christian scriptures as revealed by Jesus himself, in the Gospels primarily, through the church, through the scriptures, through our mind. God gives us a mind too. It's not just yes to some unknown. One of the greatest intellectuals in the history of the Western canon is, both Augustine and Aquinas and others, but these are men of great intellect too. They're not just like, I do what this says,
Right. Yeah, Aquinas who had, 7 or 10 or whatever, proofs for the existence of God. Was that the guy who did that?
Yeah. Aquinas had 5 that generally were based on... Aquinas was kind of known as some people would say he baptized the philosophy of Aristotle, because that's really it's like a Christian Aristotelianism. Now, the church has said it's our best expression of our way of believing and putting rational, putting reason behind our faith. The two are not opposed.
So the church embraced his 5 reasons.
Yeah, they didn't say that they're absolute proofs.
Right.
Anytime there's an individual theologian, the church is pretty, she'll use it when it works. And if something comes up that disproves it, okay, well, that's a way to describe it. But not, she didn't tie the whole ship to one dock.
Right. The whole ship to one dock. You tie it to a couple of docks. I mean, that's problematic as well. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that wasn't the best metaphor. Every analogy has its weakness.
Sure. But I'm thinking now of you being sort of double major in philosophy and theology.
Yeah, all of us have to do that, all the priests. So I heard it beautifully said once, this kind of a priest who's a bit of a outlier, but he's he would say, we were taught to think before we were given the scriptures, because without that, you can do a lot of damage.
Right. You see it all over the history of the world.
Yeah, and not just with the Bible, but with anything.
Anything.
And I think that is, before we could even touch theology, we had to go to philosophy.
Cool. So
4 years of that.
4 years of that, and then seminary theology school?
So my class, generally, we all entered at 18.
Okay.
And so we would do 4 years of college philosophy, plus, the regular stuff at Manhattan. I did it at Manhattan. Most guys did it at St. John's or Fordham.
Uh-huh.
And then you were ready to go on. So it was a total for us, for my class, of 8 years.
Wow. It's a long time.
Yeah, I don't even get a doctorate.
No. And in all of that,
I just get to consecrate the Eucharist. So I mean, it's better anyway.
That's pretty good. And in all of that, I'm guessing you studied other religions?
Some, like in a regular course or stuff like that. But it was more just there's enough for you to know with us. Here's some comparative stuff, but it wasn't. It wasn't so that if we left, we could get ordained with any branch of everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you ever question? It sounds like you're a pretty solid Christian. Did you ever consider doing Lutheran or Episcopalian or Presbyterian or Methodist or?
Not really. I think it was my DNA. It was my hardware. It was my operating system, and I didn't see anything that really pulled me anywhere else.
Right. Just amazing. And when you were a young man and you decided you wanted this path, you told your parents. What did they say?
They said, "We love you, and as long as you're happy," they were happy about it, but they said the minute that you're not, we love you, period.
Right. That's great. And
the thing about us is where we go to study, it's the same guys we're going to be working with our whole life, and it's the same guys I'm going to be in the retirement home with.
Wow.
So literally, I'm convinced that I'm going to be next to one of my classmates who I was in the first room with the first night. We're going to be old farts complaining about something.
The first night. Now, you're saying in one of the rooms in the first night.
So
are these?
I was MA because of Maurer, and he was MC.
I see.
So we were put next. Our rooms were next to each other.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the upper room.
Oh no, that's too profound.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just regularity.
Yeah. Well, speaking of profound versus regular, every week or so you write and deliver a sermon?
I deliver a sermon.
You deliver one?
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily write them?
No, I find I write, not always, but I'm more sincere and better when I prepare them. I'm not winging it every week.
Right.
I think one of the things about sermons, especially in the Catholic context, because you get a lot of other things, if you'd say, you have a lot of other things to do at the Mass. So the sermon isn't the central thing where, like, maybe say, for example, like if you're a Baptist, let's say, you don't very rarely will you do Holy Communion, and because it doesn't have the same prominence as it would for the Catholic. So you really got to fill 45 minutes with you and your words and kind of your thoughts on the scriptures. And for us, like, generally you're between 10 and 15 minutes max.
Wow. And you said that you prepare it, I mean, because you're performing it up there.
Yeah.
And you want to connect, and I think a certain amount of performance helps words to connect better than just like reading it monotonously off the page. Do you like shop for a sermon? I mean, is there a clearinghouse of?
Unfortunately, there is, but it's they're awful usually.
And when you think about the upcoming sermon, do you sort of think what's going on in the world or what's happening locally?
Yeah, like anything with preaching or living as a priest or the Catholic life in general, for people, you've really got to thread the needle. Because I don't know about you, most people don't want to hear my opinion on things.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to come to church and just hear the freaking news again.
Yeah.
And one of the other cool things about being Catholic is that we've seen it all. Like, we were there at the collapse of the Roman Empire. We've managed Charlemagne. We've, so okay, these things are important, your real life, day-to-day things. But if you look at our Lord in the Gospels, he doesn't rail against Caesar, really. He doesn't even really rail against a lot of things. What he does is he uses stories that people are situated in their life experience to draw out a larger truth that he wants to reveal, that the Father wishes to reveal through him. So, like, I try to thread the needle. I can use like folksy things, but that's the on-ramp to something more. Right. I remember there was there's nothing worse, and every priest will tell you this, than when you give a sermon. And let's say you want to start off with something stupid about, like, eating a bag of chips, but there's something bigger that you're trying to say. Yeah. And then somebody comes at the end of Mass and they say, that was great about the potato chips. And you're like, that's really not what it was about. But, you can't control necessarily what they hear, but you can craft it enough where you can even within say, no, I'm not saying this. Right. Or, especially on hotter topics, you can say, like, X, Y, or Z. And if I've said at times, like, if you're someone who tends to give yourself a pass for everything, then you need to hear this line. If you're someone who's so crippled with, like, self-doubt and regret, then this is what I'm saying. Right. Not that they're opposites, but, like...
So how long does a Mass usually last?
45 minutes to 55.
That's not so bad. Huh. And then how long...
It's heaven on earth. Literally.
How long do you stand at the front door talking with people? I mean, I see all the time, like, just lines of people waiting to have, a minute or two, or some of them, like, even more with the priest.
The beautiful thing about... I keep saying it, but it's true. Like, one of the many beautiful things about being a priest is you do have a relationship with your people. Yeah. But the other beautiful thing that's very humbling is that they also don't want a relationship with you. Like, they want to go to the diner, or they want to get or they need to get to the soccer game. Right. So, like, sometimes people stay, sometimes people, like, go out the other door because they need to get out. Because as a priest, like, you're an instrument, and whether it's the pen or the pencil, like, if it does its job, it can be replaced. Great. And that is we just had the 100th anniversary of St. Christopher's, and when you go through all the piles and you see all these priests...
That's the church in Red Hook?
Yeah, that celebrated its 100th this past year. and of the building of the church in Red Hook. It's a beautiful, like, little tiny English church, stone church, and you go through all these piles of things, and you say, this priest was here for 20 years, and no one knows who the heck he is now. And there's something actually very freeing about that.
Yeah, I guess.
Because it's like, you do your job, you do your best, and ultimately you're bringing them to him, not you.
Right.
Because that can be a temptation. I mean, it happens to preachers all the time. It happens to celebrities. But particularly with preachers, celebrity preachers never, I don't know, I could be wrong, but like...
What happens if they're sort of bringing the parishioners to them instead of to God?
It can happen. I mean, because listen, we're all wounded by original and actual sin. So God can use our talents and our, ups and things like that to draw people. But if we forget...
Right. And then, in therapy, they call it transference, where you're bringing the patient to you and then to mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think, how long have you been a priest?
21 years.
21 years.
Yeah.
And when you look back on your time, do you sort of, like right now, are there highlights and lowlights? Are there times that were just...
Sure. I mean, like any marriage at 20 years, or you look back and you say, here were the ups and here was the downs. I think one of the ups, it's funny, like, I don't know, it sounds like kind of weird, but like, there's a lot of ups. I mean, like, just last night I was going through Facebook, and I was, I don't post, but I keep in touch with friends, and, seeing people who I was a part of their life for 12 years. And like, these are the little kids I gave communion to, now graduating high school in Washingtonville, or people who are getting married, kids who I baptized in Monroe my first year. Like, one of them just got engaged.
First year out of theology
the priesthood,
school?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in 2005, like, so it's cool. And what's nice about that is, for some people, again, it's not super far. So like, you'll have people pop in. Like, I remember my first Easter here, like, all of a sudden I'm like looking, and I'm like, they don't belong here. Like, like, this is like a face from somewhere that I know.
Right.
But it's not from here. And then someone comes up, and they're like, and then it clicks.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful highlight. I think, some of the beautiful highlights are death.
Explain.
That we believe is, Catholics, that, and Christians more in general, like, that death isn't the period.
Right.
It's the comma to a much greater story. And to be able to be with people, not just in the nice things, like baptisms are beautiful and they're foundational, not just at first communions, but like at death, to be in a room with someone as they die, and to be able to, especially people who maybe they lived for one reason or another, like kind of pushing God or keeping God at a distance because of whatever. And to be able to, when they see this, they don't see Jeff Maurer. They see the church. They see
you pointed to your collar.
Yeah.
Right.
And to be able to pray with them, to give them the sacraments, particularly absolution and penance at the end. Like, you've probably, at least potentially, changed someone's eternal destiny.
Right.
And so. It's funny, for many people, what they think are the down parts to ministry as a priest, for many priests, are actually the up points.
Right. Interesting.
Like most priests, they don't like first communions because there's a lot of drama.
First communions.
It's just a little chaos. And,
yeah.
And if you have people who are faithful, it's beautiful. But sometimes, if you ever watched...
Godfather?
Oh, no. Well, that's a biggie. But what was it? Cake Boss. Remember that show?
Oh, yeah.
he, I still remember it was his daughter's first communion. You get the sense that they hadn't been inside the church that this first communion was going to take place in since maybe his confirmation. And he's cooking this thing up, or baking, I guess. And he says, I'm so proud. I'm designing this cake myself. My little Giovanna, this day, communion is all about her. And I'm like, it's actually not about her.
Beg to differ.
So, but maybe that's an equally absurd outlier. But yeah. So
now, is there a nickname you might not say or want to say for people who only come to church on Easter and Christmas?
Not really. People think we think about them more than we do.
Oh yeah, that's guilty.
Yeah. So I mean, for that, here's a theory that I have, which you're free to push back on. I think most, especially Catholics, I can only speak for the folks that I work with, so I don't want to lay it on other people. They have a school mentality to Catholic life. And what I mean by that is, think about like this past week, we were honored to be able to take in Red Hook High School for the Regents and everything. But you see all these posts up, whether it's for the Rhinebeck Central School District or Red Hook, you have all these people clapping with the kids going across the stage and everything.
Yeah.
And they will have been involved for 8 years or for 4 years or for whatever year the school takes them. They will have favorite teachers. They will maybe even wear their jerseys. And if they see a teacher out in the supermarket, they'll come up and say, "Oh, how's Trixie?" Or, I don't know if there's any children named Trixie anymore, but, how is so-and-so? And that enough will connect them, almost like an alumni relationship.
Yeah.
You come back for 4 times and they ask you for money and they make you feel like you've never left. That works for the school. But I think for a Catholic, if you really believe like in the presence of Christ in the Eucharist and the sacraments, like the church isn't your school, it's your home.
Gotcha.
And so to kind of miss that is to like miss dinner. To miss hanging out with the family,
right?
And I don't think that's knowingly done, but I think a lot of people kind of take that school mentality to church, like somewhere they spend a lot of time and they may have beautiful memories of. But the way I know that's more the case is that when they announce something is closing, like a whether it's a Catholic school or a Catholic church, let's say, a neighborhood changes where there's nobody left, like. There's this awful Facebook page called Save Our Churches Detroit. And, like literally there's nothing around, like there's blocks that have nothing. Or, it's a community that by tradition isn't Catholic. And this place has been falling apart for 25 years. And when let's say an Archdiocese of Detroit says, well, we're going to close it. There's 28 people there on the weekend.
Do they close it in? Is it called deaccession? Do they sell
deconsecration,
it?
Deconsecration, and then whether they sell it or they just knock it down or whatever, and people will go berserk,
right? Because
this is their church.
That's right.
And you say, well, when was the last time you were there?
Giovanna had her first communion.
Yeah, I made
church.
A cake for that church.
Yeah,
So, I think the more we get into the home or the family mentality for the church, that is better than the school mentality, because you can spend years away
absolutely
from Kingston Catholic or Coleman or Manhattan College,
right,
but still like have an affinity for it, but you haven't actually kept them open.
Yeah. And of your congregants, Rhinebeck and Red Hook, say, what percentage do you reckon were born into the Catholic Church, and what percentage, this is the more interesting thought for me, sort of found their way in later on in life?
I don't. I'm not that smart. I don't know. I guess I would say.
Well, I guess you'd probably have to talk to each and every one of them, really.
Yeah, that's. I would say the majority are cradles.
And
we call it cradle Catholics.
Yeah.
But, within a cradle Catholic, whether it was myself or other people, like, you go through phases where, maybe it's you're running hot and then you run cold, or you just have a deeper than appreciation of what God is doing in your life. Because I one of my themes, and I hope I'm not getting repetitive with my people, is about busyness. I hate it.
You hate busyness.
I hate busyness. I'm a worker. Anybody who knows me knows that even my staff will say, when you go away for 3 days, we get nervous because then you come back with, ideas or snow days or
lists
dangerous
of stuff to do.
So they always try to provide me with brain rot or something, So I'm not unindustrious, but I see more faith deadened by busyness than direct sin.
Okay, please expand.
So I always use stories from my old places because then nobody thinks I'm talking about them. Not because my old place was better or because they had better stories.
Yeah.
But, even our Lord in the Gospels with the parables, he doesn't say, you had a son who went off and did all this. No, He says there was a man who had 2 sons, right?
Right.
So this one particular person who I really love very much and care for her and her family, she's like terrific. Like, she was my age, so we kind of clicked a little bit. The parish where I was at had a lot of foreign-born Irish who had come over in the 80s and, started in Woodlawn, then moved up to Rockland, and then went to Orange County. So kids were heavily involved in Irish football, like every weekend travel leagues. You want to talk about a religion, talk about travel sports.
Yeah.
It makes far more demands.
Right.
So we had a policy that you had to, like, oh no, go to church, like, surprise.
Right.
And it was a mess. And she was like super Irish fan, and everything was great. And this can happen with other cultures too. I'm not just picking on them, but when it came down to always pleading, oh, but we have this, oh, we have this, and I said, all right, well, if your kid, like, she wore me down, and I said, all right, well, if your kids can pass this thing, I'll, and
you'll what? You'll give them a hall pass?
I'll give them a little bit of a hall pass. We're
Right.
going to make some other things.
Because they're in religious school and they're supposed to be there.
They were in CCD, which is like afternoon CCD religious class. And but they were never at the main thing. They were always at practice, never at the game, in a sense.
Uh-huh.
And I just said, and I kind of got frustrated. Maybe it wasn't my best moment, but I just said, so they agreed to take the test. And these boys, they were smart boys. They were good. They were, they couldn't get through the Hail Mary. Couldn't get through the Our Father.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
Yeah. I mean, you see, you're even doing better. And
That's sense.
Well, hey. And she was kind of rattled that they didn't. And I just said, Irish, this travel league has done what the British Empire couldn't do.
Ouch.
I said, they don't know the Eucharist. They don't know the Rosary. They don't, like, all the things that your noble parents and grandparents fought to keep.
Right.
Was wiped out. It's like me. Like, I don't have to hate health to be fat. Like, I just have to not do the things that make me, 40 pounds overweight.
Make your doctor say lose 20 pounds.
I don't have a doctor. It's easier then.
But you're not like a Christian Scientist.
No. I'm just lazy.
Yeah, there you go. A whole different thing.
Or avoidant.
So that whole story about the mom and the kids who couldn't pass this test was to illustrate busyness, your disdain for busyness.
And it can happen in all ways. There will always be more to do.
Yeah.
And guess what? Cemeteries are filled with people who still had things to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how many people do you think sort of pass out of this life and they've just checked off the last thing on their list of things to do? Like,
It would almost make you not want to check the last box.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that's never the case. I mean,
yeah, and like for every one of us, so this is not finger wagging. We discover what is most important too late.
yeah.
And so what the church has always tried to do is to say, okay, here's what you would say to yourself at 85. And we'll give it to you now, but you're probably not going to listen.
Yeah. You
I don't know. Maybe that's...
No, I think it's tough. I mean, younger people are not in a place where they can really appreciate the wisdom of their elders.
Yeah.
Quite often. Huh. Well, you mentioned the test that you put together for this woman's errant Irish footballers.
They were delightful, though. Like, honestly, like if I saw her today, I'd give her a big hug. So
yeah.
This isn't like, she didn't get the heave ho.
Right. And I wanted to bring up this test that you did recently.
Oh yeah.
Because Red Hook had a fire, and they didn't have classes to end the year. And did you loan them some classrooms? And
yeah, I mean, it just worked out. I mean, we have a school that was built for an IBM population that was never full. It's sad because it was cheap to build schools in those days.
Yeah.
Because all you needed was a concrete pad and some bricks.
Yeah.
So we had a school that closed, I believe, in 1984. Because when I was in Kingston Catholic, we had these children arrive in like second grade, and they were this mysterious St. Christopher's children. So it's been closed for a while. We have religious ed there. We have CYO basketball there. We have our parish offices there, food pantry, any given number of things. But during school hours, it's just like us working in there in our Cab Benedict. So I called up people I knew, and I said, I got a school 2 blocks away if you need it for testing. And they couldn't have been better. They were gracious guests. And God had a plan there, I believe. And
right.
So I took the global and the U.S. history regions.
You did?
Yes.
Amazing. Oh. And you were a history...
Proving I can be smarter than a 14-year-old.
It's a game show, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you were a history buff?
Yeah, nerd would probably be better.
History nerd.
Yeah.
And so you keep studying this stuff. You keep learning about this stuff.
Yeah.
And how do you think...
If Rhinebeck or Red Hook needs an AP Euro teacher,
yeah,
don't call me.
Don't call you. So the paper reported you got a 93 on the AP history.
There must have been a 20-point curve.
Yeah, on the Regents exam. Mm-hmm. Did you find out which questions you missed?
No, they don't give you feedback.
And
that's what I was told.
Did you have to like jump through many hoops to be able to take the test as a non-student?
No, they were gracious. I just couldn't take it at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Which was fine with me. And so no, but they were really gracious, and they said we had extras. If you want to give it a shot, do so.
And I saw. I'm not from here. I didn't take the Regents. But I
think they're going the way of the dodo.
Oh yeah, but they posted your essay book. Wherever I saw this, they posted.
It was the Red Hook Central School District Facebook page.
Holy crap! What beautiful handwriting you have.
It's a tribute to my neurosis.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, good. Let's.
Catholic school penmanship is what they used to say.
Yeah.
And I had that, and I just feel like I've always been lucky enough. I was a good drawer.
Yeah.
Like Simon, I know my name is Simon.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of had that, and I like it. To me, it's, I like handwriting things.
Yeah.
It's, and I think the neuroscience is showing that that's actually
really good.
Like, surprise, is like actually what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
it's script. You write in script.
Yeah.
Which is also going the way of the dodo.
Yeah, I laughed with them because I said, because they let me take it to my office because it was after, so I couldn't share it or, put it on the internet.
Or cheat, like.
Yeah, and so they said, well, you're like the only test that had this type of writing. And I said, I think I'm the only one who also had a cigar while he did it.
Yeah.
So I said everybody else was vaping, probably.
Ugh.
I know.
And when did you start smoking cigars?
A while ago. Like, I don't even know. Probably before I was a priest.
Before what?
Before I was a priest, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you don't have to say. Are your folks still alive? Are they listening?
Yeah. No, they're. I don't know.
Jeffrey?
But they know. They know.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, it's and it's something for me to focus on for 2 hours.
But I'm guessing. I mean, it sounds like you pray a lot, which is like fairly meditative practice quite often, I suppose. So it sounds like you have a lot of focus time in your life.
I try. One of the things that we as priests have to do every day is we have to pray. It's called the Liturgy of the Hours. It's the Psalms. So in the ancient Jewish world, our Lord, Jesus would have, the idea of like you used your own words to pray was not what you did. And it's true even if you look at like Orthodox Jews today. You prayed the Psalms of David. And so the church has continued this practice where basically you fold into the praises of God through that. And so you can find, St. Augustine says you can find everything in the Psalms, from repentance to adoration of God, to anger at God, to trust in God. In fact, the most important psalm, and so the priests have to pray a certain number of psalms each day, to early morning, midday, evening, night. But one of the psalms that everybody not everybody, but many people are familiar with is the one that Jesus prays, and it can sound like a downer, from the cross, where he says, my God, why have you abandoned me?
Right.
And so that sounds like, boy, even he gave up, right?
Yeah, despaired.
Whereas that's where the psalm starts. It's kind of like saying, oh, say, can you see, right? Like we know the rest of it. And so every psalm would be known by its first line. But that psalm ends like, I don't know what to do.
Oh, I gotcha.
I am, I have nothing to do but to trust in you, and I know you will rescue me, and I put my trust in you, and that's how it ends. So.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
There must be a great deal of that in the Bible, and in verses where the first people only quote the first part, and then it sort of like swerves to something else, and
and that's why you have to go to school for this stuff. You can't just get a tambourine and go out with a
tambourine,
and in a Conestoga wagon.
Yeah,
or at least it's better that you don't.
A Conestoga wagon. Well, so you're a student of history. When did Catholics first come to the New World?
We were the first.
Yeah,
for better or worse.
Yeah.
So the first United States city, I believe, was St. Augustine in Florida.
Right.
And if you look at, I'm going to bore everybody, but like,
yeah, good.
Think of this: St. Augustine, Florida; Corpus Christi, Texas; Santa Fe, New Mexico; San Antonio; San Diego; Los Angeles; Sacramento. These were all Franciscan mission points. So They were named after saints. They were named after Our Lady. Actually, the full name of the city of L.A. is the City of Our Lady, Queen of the Angels.
Wow.
Yeah, put that on the letterhead.
Side of a cop car.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we were the first, and there's a beautiful kind of tension even from then. We came with the Spaniards, obviously. It was crown and cross. That was the kind of the motto of the conquistadors.
Right.
And so what you had was this very early tension with the Spanish slave trade, too. You had some people who would defend it, and then you had others, an interesting character by the name of Bartolome de las Casas, who's kind of like the first human rights advocate. He's a Dominican priest who sees the kind of the brutality of the Spanish and Portuguese slave trades, and begins to really go to the king and to the local governors, and met with both success and failure, with to advocate saying, no, these people have human dignity. Like, this isn't just about, they're not just a cog in a wheel of an economic system. These are people. And if we're going to baptize them, we have to treat them like sons and daughters of God.
Right.
Which sounds kind of basic now.
It sounds lovely still, even if it's basic.
Sometimes basics, you got to go back to basics.
Right. Yeah, a friend of mine was telling me the other day about some Jewish precept. I forget what she called it. It was just the idea that every living thing has the divine in them. I was like, that is so pretty.
We would say that, like, every human being is made in the image and likeness of God. And we hear that, at least in my circles. You hear that enough that anything that you repeat begins to sound trite.
Right.
But, like, what we can do, and I think that's what the church is doing in all types of situations, from the very earliest stages to the end stage, is saying, don't forget that every person is a reflection of God in some way. Right. Sometimes it's hard to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking of some exceptions right now.
And, Mother Teresa would say that Dorothy Day, who was a kind of an interesting character, she was an atheist, Marxist community organizer in New York. She became a traditionalist Catholic, but she started this thing called the Catholic Worker.
Right.
And she actually had a farm. I think it went a little haywire.
I think it was a magazine too, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's still published to this day. And nice. She had a farm. I think it went haywire. She was very old at that point, but up in Tivoli.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think it lasted like 6 years. Like all utopian communities, they quickly go dystopian.
Yeah.
And she had a line that I just saw this week, and it was a challenge to me, because you only love God in the amount that you love the person you love least.
Oh, I love that. And guess what? We're out of time on that thought. The hour has flown by.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here. I hope you'll come back sometime. I'm so fascinated in all this stuff.
Thank you. The philosophy degree work.
You only love God to the amount that you love the least. Can you say that again? Now you're on the spot.
You only love God as much as you love the person you love least.
So good. Well,
local homegrown Dorothy Day.
Jeffrey Maurer, thank you so much for coming in. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Have a great Friday night and a fabulous weekend. Thanks to the Epicurean for hosting us here at Radio Free Rhinecliff, and of course, producer extraordinaire Jen Hammoud for making it all happen.
Thanks, Jen.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks again,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Norm.
What a treat.
Good to see you.
Likewise.